Welcome to Fort Steele Heritage Town. History began in this area for white settlers in about the 1860s. A fellow by the name of Fisher discovered gold in the Wild Horse Creek area, which is just in a small valley up just past the first ridge up there. And essentially there was more gold found in that strike in the 1860s than in any single strike in California. What happened was that it was a not very well known strike, and so it didn't get the same kind of publicity that the California or the Klondike strikes obtained. However, for this area it was very, very significant. Life for this town basically began, it was originally called Galbraith's Ferry, and over here by the river is the ferry office. Mr. Galbraith decided that he would make more money by setting up a ferry crossing on the river to allow miners and wagons of supplies and that sort of thing, charge them to cross the river, than he ever would by mining for gold. It's a very tough life, placer mining for gold. So originally this town site, pardon me, and a town site grew up around the ferry office to supply services for Fisherville up in the valley. What eventually happened was that there were two miners that were killed it was suspected by two native people, Little Isidore and Kapula. And what happened was 2 years after the murders took place, they were arrested and put into the Galbraith's Ferry jail office. At that point in time, the chief, Chief Isidore, broke them out of jail, and there was a lot of tension that was caused by that act within the area. A gentleman by the name of Superintendent Sam Steele of the Northwest Mounted Police Force was called with a division of officers to come to Fort Steele and settle the dispute. At that point in time, he came, reviewed the case, and determined that there was no evidence to support the claim of murder against those two native individuals, and so they were released, and a settlement was agreed to, a land settlement was agreed to between the native people, the Tanaka native people, and the Northwest Mounted Police, represented by Superintendent Samuel B. Steele. So after everything was settled, the townspeople were very pleased with the result and therefore renamed the town Fort Steele. This is the Wild Horse Theater, and 6 days a week live theater shows take place, once in the afternoon and once again in the evening. It's about an hour-and-a-half show, and it's a variety show. Sometimes it's some kind of a vaudevillian theme, but mostly it's a Klondike trying to tell the story of the area through live theater and dance, and it's proven to be a very successful draw for Fort Steele. In its heyday, in the 1895 to 1900 era, Fort Steele had approximately 10,000 residents, and within Fort Steele there was about 9 hotels, and one of them that's still with us is the Windsor Hotel, as you can see over here. It was at one point the Del Gardno Hotel, later changed the name to the Windsor Hotel. Yes, as you can see, it's a fairly fine-looking establishment. It was open even into the 1950s when the highway came through here, and many people from the area remember coming up here and enjoying a bottle of beer in the Windsor Hotel bar, like I say, as late as 1950. As we continue on, you can see the High Warden Barber Shop. He was one of the few Afro-American people in the area, and he ran the barber shop. Over here is the Bar and Coombs Blacksmith Shop, and right now the Friends of Fort Steele Society operates a working blacksmith in the blacksmith shop. So we'll come forward a little bit and we'll we'll show you the inside of the blacksmith shop right now. But during the summertime, we have an operating blacksmith within the shop here, and he can make garden tools. He makes horseshoes, letter knives, hinges. He can make just about anything that you would care to make out of black iron. And they use coal. They don't use any kind of a propane forge. It's with the old fashioned bellows and the leg vise and all of the tools that are used, the anvil, etc. And so we try to sell product that the blacksmith makes out of this shop to try to pay for part of the costs of having a full-time blacksmith provide demonstrations to the public. This is the harness maker shop. And again, all of the tools and so on are here, as would have been used by harness maker. There's also some shoe or cobbler tools there as well for making shoes and repairing shoes, and saddle making equipment. And this again is another original building, and it's one that at present we don't have anybody in doing displays, but however we have the shop laid out as if someone could come in and do saddle making. We use this as a station for our wagon rides during the summertime, and we have basically a guided tour with a horse-drawn wagon, and it takes you around the town and gives you a tour of the site. Here we have the government building, which houses the courthouse, the jail, and the residence of the judge and his wife. And so inside here is the courtroom. Most of the court cases involved things like vagrancy, theft. There wasn't a lot of prostitution or murder or things like that. As I was mentioning before, the British were a very Victorian people, and so there wasn't gunfights and shootout types, of events taking place in Fort Steele. Here we have the jailhouse, and for the most part, if you were convicted of a crime, you'd be locked up in the jail, and you may have to wait for 2 or 3 weeks or a month for the visiting magistrate to come by and hear your case. So once you were charged with a crime, you were locked up and held until the court case could be heard, which could be some time. The magistrate was a traveling or a district magistrate, so he would handle a number of the towns in the East Kootenays and West Kootenays. It would depend on who it was and what time of the year.